go Twitch. It might take a second. Let's see. I'll check the YouTube. Are we going on the YouTube? Is it showing us live on YouTube? Okay, we're live on YouTube. We are live on YouTube. Okay, that's good. So we're live there. Actually looks really good live. You should see it. Pop it up on the YouTube real quick. Let's do it. Oh, and the chat's working too. Sweet. Okay, let me go to the Twitch.
Oh, yeah.
They're live there. Okay. Oh, you should see this. It's pretty sick.
Yeah,
So
I
show
see
me
it
the
now. It's
YouTube
dope.
one. It's showing me the Twitch one. See, when I do this, I want to get to the Facebook one, because once I pay for the $10 or whatever a month, it'll
Yeah.
link it to the page on Facebook, and then from there, bang. And so, we'll,
So that's cool, man. It looks great.
I'll get us on. I'll pretty much just get it streaming on everything, and then let's do. I'm gonna share it to my Facebook just in case. Let's do this before we start recording. But yeah, that's live streaming. I know you've watched it before, but it's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
It's nothing crazy. It's just a matter of getting it set up and all that.
I'm just glad you know how to set it up.
Post it to our thing here. To the Facebook page. See, this would all be done if the freaking software was working for me. Post it to our thing here. To the Facebook page. See, this would all be done if the freaking software was working for me. If I could type that YouTube. I'll get the YouTube up real quick, so we're live on YouTube too. YouTube up real quick, so we're live on YouTube too. Danny, we're starting right now. Danny, we're starting right now. Let's go back to my. Danny, we're starting right now. Go back to my Facebook page. Thank you. Home. Danny, we're starting right now. Let's go back to Danny, we're starting right my Facebook page. Thank you. Go back to my Facebook page. Thank you. All right, man, let's get it going. I'll get us recording here in 3,
All right, man.
2, 1.
All right, it is the Talking Ball Podcast, episode 4 of season 3, and we kind of got like a new little look going on right now, Antonio. It's Ryan Flannery, of course, Antonio Davido, your favorite podcast to see with the Talking Ball Podcast, but we're streaming live right now on YouTube and Twitch as well, correct?
YouTube and Twitch, and next couple of weeks we're shooting for Kick, IG, Facebook, the whole shebang. We're pretty much going to go live as much as we can. Doesn't hurt to get our content there, a little bit of Q&A here on Twitch, YouTube, whichever, with everyone that follows and listens to us. We want to interact with everyone that follows and listens and bring more content to the podcast here, whether we're streaming or shorts or whatever. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, maybe the Mariners woes, which we're going to start about right now here soon, and the Dolphins 70, the Big 70. So run the recap, Ryan. What do we got going on this week before I take the flow from you?
So we're going to talk about the Mariners, obviously the NFL as well, the Dolphins, Justin Fields, and more, and then the big NBA trade with Damian Lillard. Man, a lot of stuff happened this week. A lot of stuff happened in the week that has gone by since our last episode. So let's get into it, man. Thank you guys for joining us on YouTube Live and Twitch as well. Again, if you have any questions, hit that chat button and send us anything that you want, any comments, questions, concerns.
Tap on your mic real quick. You're sounding a little hollow. You're sounding a little hollow.
Oh, hold on. Is that better?
Yeah, still a little hollow.
Test 1 2. Test.
It almost sounds like you're talking like a phone mic, Does that make sense?
Test 1 2.
I think that'll work.
Right there.
Still sounds like echoey. Not echoey, but like hollow. Like if you talk into a cup.
I know. Man, I don't know. Test 1 2.
Hold on, go back to that angle again, real quick. Sorry, everyone.
Test 1 2. Hold on. Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Try unplugging it real quick and plugging it back in. That might work.
Really?
There we go. You're set.
All right. There we go.
Now. Lady D, we will get here on Twitch real quick before we get rolled. We will get I'll work on getting some captions up first. That helps out a little bit, getting the captions and all that. But ESPN doesn't have captions. So, you gotta roll with the big dogs are doing. You gotta roll with what the big dogs are doing. But no, man, let's run it back real quick. We got the mic all fixed up. Everyone, thank you for tuning in again. Run us through our recap. What do we got going on this week, Ryan?
All right, so let's start with the Mariners, man. Obviously, half game off of the third wildcard spot right now behind the Astros. They are playing the Texas Rangers for their final series of the season, but they are at home against the Rangers, so that's definitely a good advantage. So, I mean, man, do you think they're going to pull it off? Do you think they're going to pull another year where it's going to come down to the final game? Obviously, I believe the Rangers are 2 games ahead in the AL West race over the Astros and the Mariners, but do you think the Mariners are going to be the cardiac Mariners once again and go all the way down to the finish, to the final game to try to get into that wild card spot? I would presume the wild card spot.
No, Ryan, I don't. And actually, they're a game and a half behind. They're a game and a half behind after the loss last night.
Got you.
I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening for the sole fact that it's just a lot has to happen now that you fell behind. If you would have got a game against Texas, you would have been only a half game behind going into everything. So. My thing with it is it's just like you had so many opportunities with the Mets series, with the Red series. Don't get swept by the Dodgers. There's a lot in this month that could have changed the whole outcome of the end of this season. If you take a game from the Reds, if you win the series with the Reds, you win the series with the Mets, you take at least one game in that series with the Dodgers earlier in the month or about the middle of the month, then you're not in this position. You're probably in the third wild card spot. You would be a half game or a game above Houston.
Right.
This is where it benefits Houston. Houston's off today. Seattle starts the series with Texas today, a 4-game series. Texas is trying to keep the division from Houston. They're not worried about the Mariners anymore. Like, we're set. the Astros have to lose 2 out of 3, and if not, get swept. Go over 3 or 1 for 2 in Arizona. Arizona's trying to make they're trying to make a final push too for everything. They need to lose multiple games as well, and then the Mariners pretty much have to take 3 out of 4. And I just don't see it happening. I know I said they were going to win the West by half a game. It's just this team's falling apart, man. They fell apart in September, and it's sad because you don't go into Queens, New York, and lose to the Mets. Like, it's baseball. It's a long season. You're gonna lose games here and there, but you can't lose the series. You can't lose the series to the Reds. And the sad part is you lost the series to the Reds for all the prospects you traded for Luis Castillo, who has been panning out for us, and we extended. So I'm not saying that's a bad trade. It's just you lost to your former prospects. You know, you lost to a prospect AAA team with great talent, by the way. So I'm not trying to downplay that by any means, but it's just sad to see. And I'm just frustrated because there's so much talent on this team and nothing came of this season. We had one good month out of pretty much the whole season, the Mariners did. And then from there, it's just been crap, dude. It's sad to see because there's too much talent on this team, both veteran-ish, not quite full of veterans, but the young talent we have. And then no one just showed up. Ty France had a really down year. He had a really down year. Kellenic got hurt. You know, it's just the list goes on and on. Pitching staff. You know, the pitching staff. Robbie Ray went down early. I'm not saying he would have been a big factor, but he would have been a factor enough in that starting rotation to at least be a fourth spot behind Kirby and Gilbert and Castillo. So it's just they collapsed, and they're collapsing bad, and you're showing the veteran leadership in Texas panning out to win the division. Now you're seeing it in Houston, and Houston smoked them yesterday. I'm not even saying when Neris charged the mound. Did you see that when he went after?
I did. That was so stupid.
It was so stupid. You're holding that from a year ago, and Julio hit a go ahead home run in the 9th a year ago. Like grow up, dude. Like, and the reason he didn't get tossed is because, like, did you see that when the umpire went to go talk to Dusty Baker?
Yeah.
He's like, I need to know if he's coming into the game later because I have to toss him if he's coming in, just so you know. I think that was the talk. He's like, no, we're done, because then they took Neris into the clubhouse. Like, he was done for the day, leave the stadium. So it's just so much happened. So much happened, bro. And it's just sad because now here comes another 20-year drought. Here comes another 20-year drought. Okay, I'm not exaggerating anymore. Here comes the 20-year drought. But no, okay, all jokes aside, I want to see what you think. If we can recap kind of more what went wrong this season, but it's just, it's over. I don't see them making it. I don't see the Astros blowing it in Arizona, and I don't see them taking 3 out of 4 against Houston. Miracles have happened. If that happens, then yes, they'll get in, but then you got to play the Rays or the Blue Jays, I think it is. So it's just like, do you really want to play the Rays, who swept you in Tampa earlier in the month after you swept them at home in August? It's just like, pick your poison, pretty much. If you make it, do you really want to just get annihilated in the wild card, or would you rather just recoup for next year? And so it's just, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. So I'll bounce it to you. I've yapped enough. What's your take on the Mariners season this year?
I mean, I think you want to make it, obviously, right? But you know, I think it was the slow start. The slow start to the season, really, the play before the All-Star break, I think is really what did it. You know, and the series that they should have won, again, against the Mets, the Reds, you know, dropping certain games in certain series is really going to do you in, especially at the end of the season when it's going to come down to 1 or 2 games. So I think it was a combination of both. You know, Julio got off to a slow start this year. Obviously, Ty France didn't show up this year. Kellenic got hurt after his hot start. The pitching took a little bit to get used to being dominant. The bullpen was pretty consistent all year, but you know, it's just tough, man. Like, again, I just think it's funny, like me being a Mets fan, the Mets started off so well last year and they ended so poorly. I think for the Mariners, it was kind of the opposite. They just kind of got off to a slow start. They picked it up at the right time in the middle of the summer, but you know, not to say that they had a terrible second half, but that slow start in the first half of the season really did them in. So, you know, if I'm a Mariners fan, I don't think it is going to be a 20-year drought. I mean, obviously, I understand your guys' frustration because you did go through a 20-year drought. I mean, I'm going through a huge drought with my football team and the Jets. They haven't made the playoffs since 2010. But
not only that, they have beat the Patriots for almost 8 years.
For 15 straight games. Right. So, you know, I understand your frustration and the Mariners fans' frustration, but you know, they have a lot to be proud of in terms of the future. I think that they're in a really good position right now. I know a lot of MLB analysts were saying that they are a one team that's in really great position, because you look at teams this year in the MLB, the big spenders didn't even make the playoffs. The Padres, Mets, and Yankees all didn't make the playoffs, right? So you don't necessarily have to be a big spender anymore. And I think the Mariners have a lot of young talent. I think if France comes back a little bit healthier next year, obviously Kelenic next year, their pitching staff is in great. They have such great young pitching that they're going to keep, as well as Castillo, and the bullpen's going to get better. So I just think they have to be a little bit more consistent throughout the season, because I remember in our episodes previous, in the beginning of the baseball season, we were talking about how slow of a start they were off to, and they needed to make some moves in the deadline, and they did. But again, it's that up and down start in the beginning of the year that I think really did them in.
Yep, and I'll agree with you on that to keep it short. And I posted on Facebook yesterday, a lot needs to happen. A lot needs to happen for this team during this offseason. And I've gone on record saying Dipoto needs to go. I'm going to retract that. I don't think Dipoto needs to go, because
I agree.
Dipoto is putting the best team he can with what ownership opens up for the checkbook to put the best players on the field. It's always been a problem. That's why Lou Piniella left after the 0-1, pretty much the 0-2 season, a couple seasons after the 0-1 team, the 116 wins when he went to Tampa, but then he went to the team that didn't want to open a checkbook either. But besides the fact, they don't open up, but then they do. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. They spent money on Robbie Cano. It didn't work out. They spent money on Felix Hernandez, who was an internal guy that they went through the farm system and is one of the greatest Mariners ever. Ken Griffey Jr., they spent money on him, then he left, and he came back. Julio, they just dropped a 12-year contract up to 14 years for Julio. It's like it could be up to a 400 and something million after everything and bonuses and all that. And they just signed Luis Castillo to a big 4-year deal. So they spend the money. I just don't think after the Robbie Cano signing, well, even the Robbie Ray, because the Robbie Ray was 170 million, I think, for 6 or 7 years. I got to look that back up. But the thing with them is the checkbook is like, okay, every time we open it up, it backfires. Why are we not producing when we spend that much money? Castillo was a good signing. Julio, of course, is a good signing. Robbie Cano was, because he had a decent year, but you signed him in his 30s to a 10-year contract. And thank you to your Mets for picking that up. We had to get Brian Diaz, but it's just there's more that needs to happen than what is. There's just more. And I'm going to put it this way real quick before we move on from them. I think this will really be our only baseball talk. Do you have anything else for baseball?
No, I mean, the playoffs are coming up, but, we're excited about that. But no, I mean, I agree with you, man. I think – look, Ohtani's out there. I think they're going to make a push for him. Whether they get him or not is a big question mark. But Robbie Ray's coming back, right? So that could be a good thing depending on his health. But I agree. But again, I think their youth is really they spend a lot of money, but I think they're in good shape with their pitching. That's for sure.
So the season's not over. Miracles can happen, but even after this season, you have 4 holes you need to fill. And I know there's a lot of Mariners fans. I could get a lot of backlash for this. But you got to fill first base. Ty France was a one-time All-Star. He did not show up this year.
Not this year.
And you see it more often than not. A guy gets an All-Star and then just kind of coasts the rest. I'm not saying he's coasting, but it's just like after last season, the season before that, he was okay the season before. Last year was an All-Star, and this year just down. You got to fill if you can replace first base with a better bat, you do that. Second base, you don't have a legitimate starter at second base. Caballero and Rojas and all these guys that have been traded that have came in. They're now, they're the fill-in. It's just kind of like, here, you're going to play here today. Second base isn't even a designated starting spot for anyone, really. It was Colton Wong's, but, I mean, we saw how that panned out.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
Teoscar's a free agent. Are you going to re-sign Teoscar? He had an okay year. Didn't live really up to par, but there's right field, so there's 3 spots. You're going to bring him back? He's getting up there in age. I think he's 30, 31 this year. He's probably going to want to get a big deal for money before he rides off into the sunset of retirement. Then you have left field. Is Kelenic the guy? Are we going to invest in Kelenic? Are we going to put Cam Zone out there? What's the plan with left field? There's 4 holes the Mariners have to fill this offseason through trades, free agency, whatever, or call-ups. If there's no call-ups, they're going to happen. You can even throw DH in there, Ryan. You can even throw DH
Oh, absolutely.
in there. Mike Ford did okay in 80 games with the Mariners. He did okay. He had 16 home runs, and I think it was like 40-something RBIs with the Mariners. If you do a full season, he's probably a 30-home run guy. I think it's safe to say it. He's played half a season. He can say he's a 30-home run guy. But what are you going to do? What's the plan with Cal Raleigh? You have Harry Ford in the minors. Are you going to put Cal? I mean, there's so much internally and outside that needs to happen for the Mariners for moving forward. It's like you have a top prospect in Harry Ford. Is Cal your guy? You got to figure out that's your guy now before it's too late, because he's setting career record-setting numbers for his own personal gain. And then Service obviously isn't the guy. He can't get these guys to focus. He's not that outspoken guy that can rah-rah a group of guys. Am I right? I mean, I think they need to find someone. If you're going to keep Service, you better bring veterans in that can get that clubhouse in check, because it showed with that
Yeah.
young talent. And
Yeah.
you have all the talent in the world, but they just were never focused. Like this month, I've never seen it the last couple years, Ryan. And I'm going to end it on this. I've never seen these managers just lie down, die, and quit. That's what this month was. They faced a little bit of adversity, and it was just done. This month was done.
Right.
It was done from the start. It's like they're just like, we're done. I mean, that's hard to say because they're professional athletes, and you could get a lot of criticism for saying that. But it's like,
Yeah.
these Mariners have had so much more fight in the past than they did this season in general. But the end of this season, they're too talented to just lay down and just let people walk all over them. That's what it was. They let other teams just walk all over them, man. The good teams. I mean, really, they did okay against good teams. All their wins came against teams below 500. There are a couple series
Right,
like
right.
the Rays when they swept the Rays, but it's like Baltimore came in, they took 2 out of 3 in August.
Mhm.
In
Yep,
the
yep, yep.
spectacular August you had, it's just there's so much, and Service isn't the guy. Like I said, I'm going to retract on Dipoto. I think Dipoto is actually doing a good job with everything he's handed as a GM to try and produce a team. And Cam
Yeah.
Zone worked out. Like those guys from the Diamondbacks, they worked out. Munoz didn't work out, so that's just where it's just kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But Service isn't the guy to lead these guys anymore, and I don't really know who's available besides Aaron Boone when the season's said and done, and
Sure.
and Joe Madden. I mean, besides that, do you hire someone from a bench from a team that's winning, like an assistant from the Astros, from the Dodgers? Do you hire like that, an assistant who's been on these winning teams and this winning culture, and bring them in, or do you bring a veteran presence in like Joe Madden, who did it with the 2016 Cubs, where he got that young group of guys to win with a little bit of veteran leadership, and he led them to a title? Before that, he led the Tampa Bay Rays, who they lost to the Phillies. I think was it 08? They lost to the
08.
Phillies. He led that team with the young David Price and Evan Longoria to a World Series. They didn't win it, but he led this team to a World Series. He's been there, done that. The Mariners going forward need veteran presence, whether it's veteran players that aren't everyday
Yeah, I
players that
agree.
they can lead.
Yeah.
They need a manager that has a little bit of oomph, a little oomph to his step. Because
Yeah.
I mean, that brawl last night when that happened, if Jesse Winker was on the team, he would have been throwing punches.
We
Last
know
year,
that.
everything
We
sparked
know
that
that.
14-game
Yeah,
win
yeah.
streak. But I'm
Yeah.
kind of done just ranting about the Mariners. It's just a lot of off-season moves need to be made, from managerial as well as, like I said, you have 4 holes you got to fill: left field, right field, second base, and I'm even throwing first base in there with Ty France. And so when the season ends, let's talk more scenario with that. But there's a rumor out there that your boy, the polar bear there, first baseman in New York, might be on the market, and there's rumors the Mariners might be preparing a little
Hefty
package
offer,
for that, a little
especially if they
hefty
don't get
offer.
Otani.
Well,
Yeah,
and
right,
if they're
right.
selling to restructure the Mets are, Pete Alonso doesn't want to be on a rebuilding team. He's
No,
29
no.
years old, I think.
Yeah.
He's 29
No, he
years
wants
old.
to be on a
No, he wants to be on a
contender.
winning team. And so
Yeah.
the Mariners can be that team. It's just,
Yeah.
what do? Do you trade for a guy like Alonso or a Goldschmidt in St. Louis to fill that? I'll tell you right now, if they would have had a guy that hit 35 plus home runs like Goldschmidt or Alonso at first base, they win a couple of those games even though they lost.
Sure.
the series.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just that's what
absolutely.
it's come down to. And so that's
Well,
all I got with them.
Yeah, no, to close it out, I mean, look, they need veteran presence. They need better production from their DH, their first base, a little bit of outfield, like you said. But again, there are some bright spots. JP had a great year. Their young pitching had great years. Julio picked it up, and we'll see, man. But baseball's such a long season. That's why they always celebrate at the end. And even if they win like a division, because it's 182 games, right? So it's a marathon. But yeah, I think that they have a bright future, but I do think they need veteran presence. I do. I think any team does, right? I mean, you could have all the stars in the world and they could be the youngest talent in the world, but you still need a veteran presence. Look at the Braves. They brought in Matt Olson and he had the greatest home run season in Braves history. And look,
lights out, him and Acuna.
I mean, they have young guys, Acuna and Albies and guys like that, and Olson Riley, but they also have guys like Albies and or I'm sorry, oh God, I can't think of his name right now, but again, a guy like Matt Olson, I mean, these guys come into your clubhouse, and the Dodgers with Freddie Freeman, like, you got to have veteran talent on your team to lead and to and get on guys, because sometimes the manager doesn't do it all the time,
Yep.
So I think that's an interesting point. A couple of games left, but Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's not that loss last night. Maybe wasn't the nail in the coffin, and just to have it to be to the Astros too is just so shitty, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
it's just,
oh
and
god,
it's funny
of
'cause
all the
it's
teams,
and here's the crazy thing: if it comes down to a tie for that third wild card spot, the Mariners own the
yeah,
tie. They own
yeah.
the tie against the Astros, so it's like you need to at least own the tiebreaker going into the final game of the season,
I mean,
or you
stranger
hope
things have happened,
and you
but
hope they just collapse in Arizona down there in Phoenix,
yeah,
and you hope the Diamondbacks are competing for a spot as well right now. You hope they show up and beat these Astros because you need that help. You need them to lose 2 out of 3. You need to win 3 out of 4 to even make that jump. And it hurts them because the Houston's off tonight when you were playing tonight against Texas.
yeah, it
That's the
could have been
thing
a big
too.
opportunity.
That's where that half game
Yeah,
comes in. Where if you would have won last night or taken a game against Texas, at least one game before you got swept, you're tied right now. You're tied with them for third, and then you just have to win, match their record, and you're in. It's just they also declined. They were 90-win seasons the past 2 seasons. The past season they won 90 games, and they're gonna win less this year. So they actually declined with a similar roster that some would say was better constructed than
yeah,
last year. They underachieved greatly
big
this
time.
year, and
Yeah,
big time.
they did.
It's frustrating as a fan. I know you're not like a big fan of the Mariners, but you live here now in the Northwest. You support them and all that.
Yeah,
And it's I think I just speak for Seattle fandom in general that it's just this season was a letdown, man. We were so
no,
hyped
it
after
was
last season.
compared to what. Yeah, I mean, you make the
It's
playoffs,
just
you want to make it again. You know
you're
what I mean?
you're projected to compete for a division title, which was still in your grasp, but it's just like you can't start slow like they did, and you can't finish like this. You just got to be consistent the whole season. You don't need to win 116 games. But the way baseball's set up and the way that the AL is now, if you even want a top spot for a bye going into wild card weekend, you got to win 100 games.
Oh, absolutely.
The Rays and
Minimum,
the Royals are going to
yeah.
be a 100 win team in the same division this year, and the Blue Jays aren't too far behind them. So it's just like if you want to be a legitimate contender, you got to be a 100 win team. And really, I think the Astros are going to come out of the AL. I said the Mariners to start the season. I was riding that wave after last year, that high wave, that high horse, thinking, okay, we're going to do it this year, at least make it. I also picked the Padres. Look how that turned out. But it's just you got. I can't even talk. I think the Astros are going to come out though. I do think the Astros are going to come out of the AL, and if they do that, they're in serious consideration for Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah,
because I don't think he cares where he plays. He wants to win.
Wants to win.
So,
yeah.
But yeah,
Can't blame him.
you closed it out perfect, and I'll just say that a lot of stuff needs to happen, managerial wise and position wise, at bat wise. Like I said, first base, you got to consider it. I like Ty France, but you got to consider it moving forward. Second base as a whole, right field, left field. So there's just a lot of holes you got to fill and fix, and you got to see who's going to replace Service if you decide to move on from him. So
It's gonna be
there's just a lot, man. There's just a lot this offseason. Like I said, season's not over, but by the time we get all this posted and clipped and all that, it might be over.
It could be.
And
yeah.
so it's just
Looking like
we're thinking past that. So if they make it, I don't see them making out of the wild card.
Let's hope for a miracle. But it's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Mariners. Managerial wise, what veteran players are they going to get? What moves are they going to make? Are they in it for Ohtani? Are they in it for Alonso? We shall see. It's going to be very interesting, though. The hot stove is going to be a very, very interesting time for Seattle.
And add on to this real quick. That's just another quick add in. If they are trying to trade for a big bat, like say Pete Alonso or Goldschmidt or someone from a team that's not really fighting for that, maybe in a rebuilding stage at this point for that franchise, they're going to want young pitching. You're going to have to figure out if that's Miller, if that's Gilbert, if that's Wu, someone, if that's
you got to give someone up.
You're going to have to throw something in there, and you got to try and unload Robbie Ray's contract if you don't think he's going to be in that rotation. You're going to have to throw a young guy or two and Ty France in a package. There's no way you make a deal without one of those young pitchers and prospects to bring a guy in. There's just no way. There's no way you walk away with everyone intact in that starting rotation.
Another big question. What young arm are they going to have to give up?
Many.
Yeah, a lot of questions. But again, a little bit of a disappointing season because, again, you want to make the playoffs in consecutive years. But I think the Mariners, I don't think it's going to be another 20-year drought. But again, let's knock on wood here that doesn't happen. So we shall see. All right, let's move on to the NFL. Of course, the main topics of the week. We got to start with the biggest of the big when it came to week 3, Miami Dolphins.
I'm going to say, what could that be?
Yeah, I mean, we got to start with them. The Miami Dolphins dropped a Madden game on Sean Payton's Broncos. They scored 70 points, and I can't even do that in Madden on rookie level. So that's really impressive. I get close,
You
but
need
I
to
know
bump those numbers up then, Flannery.
I got to start practicing, right? Maybe on rookie, not on pro. But anyway, enough about me. I mean, the Dolphins, just their offense looks incredible. So let's go both sides here. Let's start with the Dolphins. To me, I look, I know the Chiefs are who they are, but the way that the Dolphins are playing right now, in terms of their offense, their defense hasn't been great. They had a good game against Denver. Previous 2 weeks, not so great. Well, man, they played okay against the Patriots too, but their defense hasn't been as good as Kansas City's. But the Dolphins' offense has just been really good. I mean, Tua is the MVP frontrunner right now, and we'll see how healthy he is at the end of the season and see if he sticks up with that, keeps up with that. But I mean, they're averaging what, like 35 points a game right now. They have a solid two backs in Mostert and Achon now. Two of the best wide receivers in the game. Tyreek Hill seems to always have a 100-yard game every week with a tutty, and also Jalen Waddle, who's coming back from injury, but he's healthy. He was healthy. He's going to be healthy this week. Their offensive line is playing really well, and Mike McDaniel seems to be an offensive genius. Maybe he's the next Kyle Shanahan. He's like Kyle Shanahan Jr. So I'm really impressed with the Dolphins. I think they're my top team in the AFC right now. And then when you look at the Broncos, I mean, God, my girlfriend's a Broncos fan. We were watching the game together a little bit the other day.
I'm
She
sorry,
was
Brittany.
Brittany, yeah, shout out Brittany. She was so disgusted. Like, that was by far the worst loss in franchise history, just based on the amount of points they gave up. I know they've lost some Super Bowls here and there, but giving up 70 points is just embarrassing. The fact that Vance Joseph, maybe it's like some like voodoo, like he got fired from the Broncos. I mean, I know he would never do that, like purposely lose games, but like maybe he's salty. He got fired by the Broncos a couple of years ago. He's the D coordinator now in Denver. Like, the fact that he still has a job is just shocking to me. I think if he gives up a lot of points to the Bears, he might not this week. Speaking of a great matchup there, but so let's go from it both sides. What do you think about the Dolphins? What do you think about the Broncos? Personally, I think the Broncos, like, Sean Payton should have kept his mouth shut, saying that Nathaniel Hackett was the worst coach of all time. I'm going to bring all this promise to the Broncos. He should have tempered his expectations. I don't think Russ is really the problem. He hasn't been great,
No,
but I
Russ
don't think
threw for
he's the problem.
306 yards and a touchdown.
Listen, the defense is terrible. So what are your thoughts on the Dolphins and the Broncos right now?
Well, what the Dolphins did was impressive. Former Mr. Ball Boy McDaniels was impressive winning that game. My takeaway from it is when people talk about, like, they shouldn't have dropped 70 on them. No. They should have ran that score up. They could have scored way more than 70. He had a chance to kick a field goal and set a record. I think they should have done it just because Sean Payton thinks his shit doesn't stink.
Yeah, he really does.
It does stink right there, buddy. It shows it does stink because you just let up 70 points and you're this defensive guru. Hackett's the worst coach ever in history, like you just stated, and he went on the record saying that. You just got blown out, dude. You got obliterated. Like, there's no coming back from that. And when people were saying, like, oh, the Dolphins, they need better sportsmanship, nah, you're a professional team.
They're professionals
in the National Football League. If you can't stop an offense who's being paid and their job is to score points, then stop them. Stop them, because if I'm McDaniels, I would have ran that score up even more.
I would have too. I would have went for the record.
I would have
went for the record.
I would have went for the record, and then and then some, just to show, hey, we're legit. Stop us, because this is what we're capable of. That could have been like we're coming for you, the rest of the teams in the AFC. We're coming for the Chiefs. We're coming for the Bills. We're not just trying to make the playoffs. We're gunning for a Super Bowl, man. We are shooting for a Super Bowl right now because this is what we can do on defense. This is what we can do. Or, excuse me, offense. This is what we can do on offense. Stop us. See if anyone can stop it. This team is more explosive than that Chiefs team was that won the Super Bowl a few years ago against the Niners. That team. They're way more explosive than that. As for Sean Payton, you just got a reality check. Russell Wilson was the blame all last year, and rightfully so, everything that happened.
Yeah, he was terrible. He was terrible.
He had a bad season. But Russ threw for 300 and a touchdown. He had an interception. But that usually wins you games. You throw for 300, you score 20, and if your defense can do their job. 20 points in the NFL can get you a win the majority of the time. If it depends what team you play. Sean Payton better pick it up, man, because all that smack you talked, you're not. You deserve to be fired after hyping up how you're going to change this culture and change this team, and you're going 0-3, and you might lose to the 0-3 Chicago Bears in Chicago this weekend. No, that's the toilet bowl right there, Ryan.
Toilet bowl game.
the 0-3 Bears versus the 0-3 Broncos, and I think Chicago's going to pull it out.
You think so?
Justin Fields is playing for his spot in the league this week.
Yeah,
So if
that's
they
true.
start
Yeah.
0-4, he'll be like 50-29 as a starter, or 5-29, excuse me, 5-29
5-29
as a starter. I have to look up exactly his loss
around
record,
there.
but he
Mhm.
he only has 5 wins in his career, and his stats are worse than Mitchell Trubisky's was at his tenure at Chicago.
Absolutely.
So he's playing for his career this weekend. If they start 0-4 and lose to the 0-3 Broncos, Justin Fields is done. He's done. There's no coming back.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot more on the line for Chicago than there's a lot on the line for Denver. But I hope they turn around for your girlfriend's sake, man, because it's just like ever since their Super Bowl win when they beat Carolina,
They've been terrible.
they've been terrible. They've been terrible.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like, so here's my question: so this is what I got to ask: is this loss where they let the Dolphins score 70? So the Dolphins scoring 70, them losing 70-20. Is this loss worse than them getting blown out by the Seahawks in the Super Bowl 43-8?
Yeah. I mean, I would be more upset with the Super Bowl loss just because it's the Super Bowl, right? But the more embarrassing loss to me is the Dolphin game, because you give up, I don't care who it is, man. You give up that many points in an NFL game. You're that many points away from them breaking a record for scoring that hasn't been broken since the freaking 60s. Like, that's just embarrassing. And the players showed it in their pregame interviews. You know, the guys talking about, I've been here this many years. I'm tired of losing.
Who was the tackle? Who's the
Bowles.
tackle that said that? Yeah.
Garrett Bowles. So, I mean, it's the more embarrassing, the more hurtful loss is the Super Bowl, but the more embarrassing loss is by far the Dolphin game. Yeah, I look, I'm going to pick the Broncos to win Sunday because I think the Bears are really just that bad. They've lost 13 straight games. And my God, if Sean Payton gives up a loss to a team that's lost 13 straight games, it's just really bad that way. But you're right. I mean, you know, do you want to move on to Justin Fields and talk about him? Because that's the big question. Is he finished in Chicago?
I want to just answer off of what you said. I do agree with
Go
you.
ahead.
I think the loss, the 70-point loss, is the most embarrassing, and the Super Bowl's more. It hurts more.
Yeah,
It
of course.
cuts deep, but it's
Yeah.
like no one, even the defense that Seattle had that year, no analyst or anyone gave them a shot, and they showed out, man. I mean,
Yeah.
from the first snap, it was a safety. So I
That's
think he's
right.
got to look into context. I think it hurt more that happened the last game, and you were just embarrassed on national television in that standpoint.
Yeah.
And people were like, all right, yeah, Seattle just came to play, where it's just like, okay, you just dropped 70 or you just let the Dolphins drop 70 on you.
Yeah. I mean, it's just embarrassing.
What? How much
man.
was unanswered? Like 40 of it went unanswered at one point, or something like
Yeah.
that. Like that's insane. It's just, I think the Super Bowl. Me personally, I think the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna say it. The 70-point. It's hard to argue.
It's bad,
It's hard
man.
to argue. It's hard to even try and argue that wasn't the most embarrassing. Yeah. So I'm gonna agree with you. I was gonna say the Super Bowl was more embarrassing, but it was just more embarrassing from the standpoint of Peyton Manning until he won it. If they didn't come around and win another Super Bowl during that
Yeah.
era, then you could kind of like, okay, you can juggle it, because that was the last Super Bowl Manning played in, was that 43-8,
Oof.
and they only scored the 8 because Seattle threw the second strings in. That's the other thing. They threw the second strings in, and then they went down and scored, and then Seattle
Mhm.
went down and scored again. Like, that's the only reason Denver scored, is because they benched their starters to let them score in the fourth quarter. That's
right.
Super Bowl. So it's just, yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, man. 70 is hard to even try and counteract that Super Bowl loss. But the big loss, you don't want to lose in the biggest stage of them all, but also you don't want to lose and become national news by losing by 50.
And that's it. I mean, they're the most talked about 0-3 team. I mean, not only because of Sean Payton and Russ, but yeah, you give up that many points, it's really bad.
So
And
you think McDaniel should have went for the record? You think he should
I
have kicked
do.
that field goal?
Yeah, I do. Because I just think it would be cool that they hold the record for the undefeated season, and then they hold the record for most points, right? I think that would be cool. Something that hasn't been broken since the 60s, which was quite some time ago. And, again, it's just a cool thing to talk about, But I mean, I'll give kudos to McDaniels for not trying to completely humiliate them more than they already were. But I would have went for it. I would have went
I'm
for
with
it.
you. I know we talked about it just a few minutes ago, but yeah, I would at least kick the field goal. To want to rub it in, just salt in the wound, man. Just salt in the wound, and then being like, Yeah, you could have hired me, but you didn't, and now I'm doing this to you. And
Yeah,
that's the other thing
that's
people are
right.
talking about. They had a chance to hire him. They didn't even give him an interview, if I remember
Nope.
correctly, from what I read. They didn't even give him an interview. They didn't even give him the time of day.
And he was a Bronco ball boy.
I would have, I would have, I would have tried to
Yeah.
drop 100. I mean, at that point, it was 100 wasn't attainable, but I would have shot for triple digits just because.
It was a straight Madden
I'm just petty
game.
and salty like that, man. I would have went for it.
Yeah. Well, it was just a straight Madden game, man. It was really a Madden rookie game. And, but if you're the Broncos, you got to bounce back. Obviously, with Sean Payton, he's not going to give up. Russ isn't going to give up. That's not the kind of guys they are. But that Dolphin team is really looking good, and they play the Bills this week, and that's going to be a test of who's probably going to win that division because the Bills, they lose two division games already. That's going to be pretty costly for them. I'm not saying they're not going to make the playoffs, but that division could come to this game Sunday, and I think it's going to be a good one in Orchard Park. It's not as cold as it was during that playoff game with Skylar Thompson. So, but the Dolphins are looking really good. The Dolphins and the Chiefs are my top AFC teams right now, no doubt about it. And the football has been offensively, it's been pretty fun to watch with those two teams so far.
Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's move on to Justin Fields. He was the other big topic. Of course, he had those comments last week that made national news with saying that it was kind of the coach's fault that he wasn't playing very well, and kind of to a degree of what he said. Then, $1,000 worth of equipment got stolen from Soldier Field. I mean, their defensive coordinator quit for reasons we don't know, and then they just get completely blown out by the Chiefs, 41-10. They were down 34-0 at one point. And Justin Fields just is not playing well. He hasn't played well really since he's gotten into the league. Didn't have a lot of offensive weapons last year, the first 2 years. Now he does. Still not playing well. So, yeah, you're right. I think Justin Fields is playing for his job this week, maybe next week as well. He runs the ball really well. He's a great athlete. He obviously runs the ball really well. He almost broke a couple of records last year running the ball, but he just holds the ball too long. His decision-making is very poor. He's just not a very good NFL quarterback. And, we talked about it last week, the Ohio State quarterbacks. I will give credit so far. CJ Stroud is looking pretty good. But, again, he plays for the Texans.
So far in this year?
I get it, but we got to give him some more time. But he is playing really well. I'll give him credit for that so far in his career, being a rookie. It's impressive. But Justin Fields, man, is he finished in Chicago? That's the big question. I'll go first on this one. I mean, yeah, if he has a stinker this week, I think he's done. I just think that's the final nail in the coffin. You lose to a really bad defensive team. He's at least got to put up some points this week. They might not have to win the game, but he has to play well. He has to play well. He has to play like a top 5, top 10 pick, whatever he was. He was a top quarterback coming into the league. He just hasn't shown it so far. And I know the Bears aren't the greatest organization, but they are a legendary organization. They haven't always had a great quarterback, but you put so much effort and time and draft picks and money into this guy, and you give him weapons this year. If you're not showing up, you're not showing up. Like my Jets and Zach Wilson, we've seen this guy play for 3 years now. He has not had one standout game. He clearly is just not good. So trust your eyes, right? That's what I'm saying with guys like Wilson and Justin Fields. I'm going to trust my eyes. I'm going to give him one more shot. He's got to put up some points against a bad defense this week. He's got to at least play well. I'm not saying he's got to win, but he's got to play well. We'll see what happens. But is he finished? I'm going to say yes if he doesn't play well this week.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, he's playing for his job at this point. He's playing for a spot here in the NFL, and it's just it's sad to see because he's such an athlete. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's there.
Yeah.
I just think it's just the opportunity. It's just Chicago's just not a good spot for him, and it showed the resurgence of Geno Smith here in Seattle. Being a journeyman as a backup, and then finally getting his shot. And when he got it, he's never looked back. So I think Chicago, it's done. I'm going to retract saying he's playing for his spot in the NFL. I think a team with a veteran quarterback, or maybe they're like, okay, let's sit him behind so and so. Learn. I mean, if he goes to the right spot where he can be a backup, say after the Chicago stint, and then he has a second shot, I think he has the potential to do that. He's just got to brush up on his passing. He's not a very accurate passer. He's got the arm strength. He's got a very, very strong arm. The accuracy is just not there. He has all the athleticism. It needs to just all come into one and be successful. But Chicago's just not a good team, man. They're just not a good team. They really haven't been a good team since you could say, what was that team in 06? Was it 06 when the Colts beat them with Rex Grossman at the helm? So it's just It's like I said with the Mariners. There's just so much you got to do, and they had so much cap space, and they weren't able
Yeah.
to spend it because no one wants to go play in Chicago right now. It's not a place that's like sexy or appealing to go to right now, given the state of the Chicago franchise. And so I think
Yeah.
he will be able to turn around if he gets out of Chicago. I do think that once Justin Fields can get out of Chicago, whether go be a backup and learn somewhere, I think that'll benefit him more than just being thrown to the wolves in with that franchise in Chicago, and just really it's a lose lose. There's no winning in that. It's sure you're getting paid, you get to be an NFL quarterback, but there's a reason why people aren't going to Chicago with all that money they have to spend. So
Right.
I don't think he's I thought he was, like I said earlier, I thought he was fighting for a spot in the league. He'll have a spot in the league. Someone will take him as a backup. But hey, if Jimmy G doesn't pan out in Vegas, Vegas is gonna have a spot. Do they take a chance on him with some offensive weapons there in Vegas?
Right. Right.
Does Tennessee look to move on? I know they drafted Levis, but do they look to move on? There's just other teams that could take a chance on him, whether a backup or say, hey, we got some weapons. Let's see what you can do at a discounted rate outside of
Yeah.
that first round money. So I don't think he's done in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna say exactly what you said. He doesn't have to win this weekend, but he has to play well. He has to show that he can compete at a high level, especially against a bad team in the Broncos this season. That's the one thing about it. He has to be able to compete against bad teams, not the good teams. You're not going to beat the Packers or the Lions or anyone this year. But yes, you can beat the Broncos. If you can beat the Broncos or at least play well, then maybe the narrative will change. But you just have to start playing well. The thing with it was, even quarterbacks on bad teams, as long as they're playing well, like he's just on a bad team. He's throwing for 250 plus. He's throwing a touchdown. He's doing his job. They're just a bad team. If he was doing that, no one would be faulting Justin Fields. They would just be like, get this man out of Chicago. He's doing what he needs to do. Get him out. Like, it'd be something like that. Get him out. And so it's just, if he can start doing that, then the narrative will flip. But until then, it's going to be Justin Fields is done. He's finished and blah, blah, blah. But like I said, if he can start putting up numbers to where he's maintaining, like, say, 250, a touchdown or whatever, where analysts are just like, and everyone, fans around are just like, yeah, he's just on a bad team. He's just really on a bad team. Then you can flip the narrative. But you have to start playing to that. You have to be playing that. You have to be that first round pick that everyone thought you were good, that the player that they thought you were going to be. You have to be that player now going forward, or it won't be a long career. Because the average career in the NFL is 3 to 4 years, or something like that's like 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
So don't be that statistic. He's too talented. Justin Fields is too talented, athletic to be that statistic. Don't be that statistic. Really, you got it, man. You got it. That's all I can say. You got it. I want to see him be successful. It's just Chicago's just such a bad franchise. They really are. They're just a bad franchise right now.
And it's going to be interesting because the Bears are probably playing for a pretty good draft pick at this point. And there's so many quarterbacks that are going to be in this upcoming draft, especially a guy like Caleb Williams. If they are that bad and they are going to be the worst team in the league, they're definitely going to draft him at that spot. And they have the Carolina Panthers pick. If the Panthers turn out to be really bad this year, then they're good. They might have 2 top 5, top 10 picks. So
go for Marvin Harrison Jr. and
right. There you go. And you don't tank in the NFL, but if Justin Fields isn't the guy, you better damn sure believe that if they have those draft picks, they're taking a quarterback.
No. You tank in the NFL. Because remember the Colts when Manning was out, that neck injury, they played Curtis Painter. They were tanking. God,
Curtis Painter.
They were tanking for Andrew Luck. So it's not as often as you see in the NBA. But yes, there is tanking in the NFL when there's a can't miss prospect like a Caleb Williams and like an Andrew Luck in 2012.
The other big topic that was in discussion in the NFL was the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys laid an egg, and that happens in the NFL sometimes. I'm not saying the Cowboys are going to be undefeated, but just how dominant their defense was against, granted, terrible teams in the Giants and the Jets, but their defense still looked pretty good. But, Trayvon Diggs goes down for the season. Their pass defense isn't as good. Maybe that had something to do with it. Or maybe they just completely overlooked their opponent and thought that the Cardinals were tanking. And they were like, okay, well, hey, maybe we could just go in Arizona and get an easy win. Dak still doesn't look great to me. I just still think he's kind of a glorified game manager. He hasn't really had a great throw this year. First of all, he hasn't thrown a touchdown to a receiver yet. The touchdowns that he's thrown have been to tight ends and running backs, I'm pretty sure. So that's kind of an alarming stat. But Dak, he's got to step up. I really think he's the guy that if the Cowboys want to make it to an NFC Championship game, to a Super Bowl, he's got to not turn the ball over, obviously, but he's got to make some throws. And he wasn't able to do that. They were terrible in the red zone against a Cardinal team that, again, isn't playing for much. Obviously, they're not tanking. They've been playing really well this season so far with Josh Dobbs and that defense. But yeah, the Cowboys disappointed me week 3. I was shocked at that loss. And the fashion of the loss too. So what do you think of the Cowboys? Because they were pretty much the main topic after week 3.
They laid an egg, and you're not them boys, and you're gonna have to compete with the Eagles going forward. Because the Eagles
and
are
the Niners
out, and the Niners.
Yeah.
So it's alarming. I would say it's concerning that Dak has not thrown a touchdown to a receiver. See, I didn't know that much. I've not paid much attention to Dallas minus what ESPN shows me. I really don't care to watch them. I hear enough of it on Facebook with all the fans and America's team. I kind of try to block them out as much as I can unless I need to really pay attention. But it's concerning that he has not thrown a touchdown pass to a receiver this year, given the weapons he has on the outside. CD Lamb. So, and
Brandon
Pollard
Cooks,
and Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is a great slot receiver. He has been his whole career. A little bit of a journeyman here or there, but he's
still good.
He's played in Super Bowls. He's played in Super Bowls. I don't think he's won one, but he has played in a few Super Bowls, I believe, with the Rams and the Patriots, and then the Patriots when he got knocked out in the Eagles game, I believe it was.
Correct.
But
Yep.
So he's been there. You have veteran presence. You have veterans on that O-line. Your quarterback's a veteran, and he's a household name because he's a Cowboy. But it just comes down to Mike McCarthy better do something, because he got rid of Kellen Moore when they let him go, or they let him go and he walked, right? So
and look at how good the Chargers offense is playing.
Yeah, they're playing well. The Chargers overall could be doing better, but the offense is doing.
But their
really
offense
well.
is humming, yeah.
The offense is humming. Exactly, that's perfect. They're humming, man, with Kellen Moore down there in L.A. running the show with him and Herbert. But you let him go saying, "Oh, we're going to do better. In my offense, we're going to do it." Well, your quarterback hasn't thrown a touchdown to receiver yet, so maybe there's something you should figure out, or you're going to be out of a job, dude. And it might be the last job you have in the NFL.
Yeah,
because
right.
They're going for younger coaches now. They're going for the offensive savvy young coaches, and you might not. You'll have maybe a broadcasting job, which pays well, man. If that's what it comes down to, that's still a good career post coaching. But you're on the hot seat after you let Kellen Moore going and saying, "Yeah, I can do better," and you're not.
Yeah.
You're not really doing that much better. I don't care about Week 1 against the Giants. I don't think that counts. That does not count.
Well, they've played bad teams. Let's be honest. They've played for 3 weeks. They're supposed to beat the Cardinals. They played 3 bad teams. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and so we'll see. It's a long season, but they got to get through the Eagles still.
Yeah,
and the Eagles
in their own division.
Yeah, in their own division. So, we'll see, man. We'll see. I'm just, like I said, I block out the Cowboys as much as possible because they're all over social media and my friends and family on Facebook and ESPN. So, but what does Stephen A. Smith say?
What will go wrong? What can go wrong will go wrong with them.
And Diggs going down was huge.
Huge. Yeah, that's gonna be a big loss.
Now teams are gonna start attacking on the outside.
Before, that side of the field,
you had to respect that side of the field with Diggs on the outside. You don't have to anymore. You're gonna make sure they earn every penny, whatever corners out there covered on the outside. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough one moving forward for the Cowboys.
All right, well, here's our last NFL topic here before we move on to the Dame trade. Speaking of things that I really am getting sick of seeing already, we got to talk about it. Travis Kelce.
Have a good night.
Taylor. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. Had a feeling. I just had a hunch that she was going to show up to this freaking game, this Chiefs game, and sitting next to his mother, and God darn it, she did it. Obviously, it's been the talk of the town. And get this, I just read this. Ticket sales for the Jets and Chiefs, which is, by the way, going to be a terrible game. The Chiefs are going to win. The Jets are at home. Taylor Swift is going to be there. Tickets for that game have gone up drastically, not because of the game, because they want to see Taylor Swift there. I mean, it's just crazy. I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift fan. I respect her. I think she's like a really good musician, and I respect her hustle. I respect
what she's done.
What she's done, right? Her resume.
I'm right there with you.
But this is going to be a distraction, I think. Like, I don't know, man. If the Chiefs start losing, people are going to point to that. And I'm not saying they are, but they are. They will if the Chiefs lose. And all TikTok, all of Instagram, all of ESPN, they're all covering it. And I know it's their job, but it's just getting annoying. So I'm not the biggest fan of their relationship. Like, good for them, I guess. But who even knows if it's real? But it's just annoying, I guess, right? I'm just annoyed with it. So, but again, my point is like, remember when Tony Romo dated Jessica Simpson? Like everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's Jessica Simpson's fault the Cowboys blow it all the time," and obviously it's not, but it was a distraction. When the Kardashians date athletes, it's a distraction. When Taylor Swift dates Travis Kelce, it's probably going to be a distraction if they lose. So that's what I'll say about it. What are your thoughts on this new budding celebrity romance?
I don't really care, man. I'll be honest, I really don't care. It's one of those. He shot a shot. He got one of the biggest
Good for
megastars
him.
in the world, man. Fucking
Yeah,
man,
good for him.
Good for you, man. You got the #1 sports podcast in the world. You got
Mhm.
one of the most famous people in the world, man. Live your life. You know, if you're Travis Kelce, live your life. That's all I gotta say. Shoot for the stars, but just make sure you're winning. Like you said, just make sure you're winning and all that, because they don't fall. Oh, he's distracted. If he has one bad game. Oh, if Taylor Swift wasn't in the picture, he wouldn't have done that. But
I'm not
like,
saying it's fair, but it's gonna happen.
no, and I think they've already had the talk internally in their locker room. I mean, even Patrick
Sure.
Mahomes came out and just kind of like, just stop. You know, you guys are the ones blowing it out of proportion. We're here to play football. Everyone has their lives. Let them live it. You know, he's already said, he's like, I'm done answering questions about it. So I don't think internally anyone's annoyed. They're just more like, no, that's not our focus. That's outside. You guys want to report on that? We're not doing that here. This is football. And so I just think it's just going to take away from the fan experience now, because Swifties are going to be going to football games and they're just there to see her on the big screen. That's it. They're not even there to watch football. And it's just, that's what sucks for football fans. I'm sure Chiefs tickets aren't cheap in general. The more your team wins, the more expensive tickets are. It happened here in Seattle with the Seahawks when they made the Super Bowl and started winning in the early 2010s. So it's just, I love the trolling that's happening, man. I love the trolling I'm seeing on social media with it, where wives are going up to like husbands or boyfriends or whatever their significant other, saying, "Oh yeah, did you see you know Travis Kelce, or this Travis Kelce guy? Yeah, he's blowing up because of Taylor Swift. He's only popular because of Taylor Swift." I love the trolling on it right now. I know what they're doing, because it's not like gaslighting. They're trolling. They're just saying like, yeah, this guy he can thank Taylor Swift for all this publicity and blowing up. And
he's only like one of the greatest tight ends ever.
Yeah,
like,
probably go down as the greatest ever. But it's just like, with the troll, it's not wrong. I mean, outside of the sports world, of the Swifties that don't watch football,
yeah,
yes, he did get known because of Taylor Swift did them.
Oh, well, that's true.
It's not like in general, but it's just like in context. Yes, he did in the world of Swifties that don't pay attention to sports, right? In that sense, yes, because his jersey sales went up 400%.
400%, crazy.
400% this weekend,
Yeah.
or this week. That's insane. Just live your life, and Travis Kelce, don't become a love song, man. Don't become a post-breakup love song. That's it.
He might.
Maybe she ran out of material. Maybe she needs something for her next album, and you're it. You never know. But no, if they're happy, man,
good for them. But
good for them. If they're happy, good for them. And just kind of ESPN, Fox.
It's annoying, but
just tone it down a little bit. And it's funny because we went from being blown up from Deion Sanders drinking water on the sidelines every moment of his life was being posted on social media, ESPN, breaking news, whatever, and now it's Taylor Swift. It's just like, simmer down. But how about that TikTok I sent you, man? You like that TikTok?
Oh my God, that made me laugh, bro. That made me laugh out loud. Like, no, like people say LOL, but that made me laugh out loud. No doubt about it.
I gotta say that.
That was so funny. But you know what? I will say this. It's nice and playful. Week 1, Andy Reid. Oh, I set them up. Bill Belichick. Oh, it's the greatest catch ever for him. And Patrick Mahomes having fun with it. But it's playful for the first week. But it's probably, like you said, going to start to get a little like, okay, like, can we move on now? Like next week, the week after, the week, especially if they're losing. So that's all I'm saying. Be happy. I'm happy for them. Good for them. But and it
could just be a celebrity fling, just because she has like a European tour coming up, so she's gonna be. It's just kind of live your life, gentlemen. Shoot your shot. That's the thing here. Shoot your shot. You don't know what's the worst you can say. No, she said no the first time, and then she
did. Yeah. Maybe that's what made the story.
So it's just it's fun, but just make sure you're still winning games, because you're a championship caliber team, and your fans expect you to win. And if there is a distraction, you gotta somehow like suppress that distraction down a little bit. Not saying to break up with anyone, but just kind of tone it down. And I think they're handling it fine. It's paparazzi and the media really blowing it out of proportion. Was it a big deal she showed up? Sure. But he's not the one blowing it up. Like, they went to a private club and someone snapped a photo and sold it to TMZ. So it's just one of those.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna do the best they can to keep it internal and less. But it's paparazzi, man. She's she's a megastar, dude. He's a megastar in the NFL, and she's a megastar globally. So it's gonna.
Sure.
You're not gonna be able to avoid the media in that sense at all.
Well, even Travis Kelce said it on his podcast, the New Heights podcast with his brother. He's like, yeah, my private life, that's not so private. That's the world that he lives in, right?
Yeah,
it's the world that's
you wanted it.
That's right. That's what you sign up for. So, all right, man, let's get to the biggest. To me, this is the biggest story of the week so far. A trade that, and it seems to always happen this way. It was our hot take last week, or my hot take last week, that I said it's been 3 months. The Heat have always been the favorite to get Damian Lillard, and I just had a hunch, and not to say it was like, oh my God, you're a genius hunch, but a lot of people were saying it like, yeah, I don't know if this Miami Heat thing's going to happen. I don't know if Dame's going to go to the Miami Heat. I threw out there the Sixers, you threw out there the Bucks, and you turned out to be right because Damian Lillard was in fact traded to the Milwaukee Bucks yesterday. We're recording this on the 28th. He was traded there the 27th. Trade isn't official yet, but we do know the details of it. He goes to Milwaukee. Drew Holiday goes to the Blazers, who they will trade. And then DeAndre Ayton goes to the Blazers as well. Nurkic goes to the Suns, and Grayson Allen goes to the Suns as well. But the big thing is the Dame trade. So we called it. Didn't go to Miami Heat. He ends up going to Milwaukee. Me personally, and I know we talked about it yesterday, and I do think we agree on this, I think it's a better fit. I think you're playing with a better player in Giannis, arguably the best, if not the best. I think Jokic is, but he's one or two. The pick and roll is going to be insane. Giannis can't shoot, right? He's not a great shooter. Dame can shoot. He's one of the best, if not second to Steph, probably the best three-point shooter in the league in terms of a point guard. He can close games. Giannis has had trouble closing games with a shot. And Giannis plays defense. Dame doesn't play the best defense, but Giannis can control that. He can play defense, block shots, rebound. All Dame has to do is play that great pick and roll, make those shots he always makes, shoot a high percentage from the free throw line, another thing Giannis doesn't do well. And they only had to give up Drew Holiday, basically. They kept Bobby Portis. They kept Brooke Lopez. They kept Chris Middleton. They kept pretty much everybody but Drew Holiday. I love this fit for Damian Lillard. I think it's a lot better than Miami. Now, obviously, I'd rather live in Miami, right? But basketball-wise, yeah, and I get it. He wanted to go to Miami. He wants to live there. He wants to be on a team that can play well. But to me, Milwaukee's the better fit. Milwaukee has the better opportunity to win a championship to me. And if that's what Dame is about, I think I would be thrilled to go to Milwaukee and play with Giannis. So what are your thoughts, man? I thought it was perfect for him.
See, I thought it was either going to be the Bucks or the Sixers that were eventually going to land him. I think I lean more towards the Bucks in the sense just because they're trying to keep Giannis. There's rumors Giannis wants to leave maybe after his contract, and LA will be making one of the LA teams in a New York market will be throwing money at him, making the big superstar he is, both United States and internationally, the level he's at for his stardom as a player. So those big markets were coming. They knew the asking price for Lillard. And it's like they didn't give up too much because 3 teams were involved. So it wasn't just like two teams going at it. The whole farm, the picks, everything. The thing where the Bucks win this takes the attention of Dame will open up more opportunities for Giannis, Portis, Marjon Beauchamp now here in his second year. It's going to be there's going to be more opportunities for other players to score with the attention on Dame on the outside. So it's going to give Giannis more respect down low. Okay, you're gonna have to go one-on-one with Giannis because if you do a pick and roll, pick your poison. You're gonna double up Giannis. You're gonna double up Dame when you run the pick and roll. Who you gonna try and defend, put more harder defense on. So
yeah,
where they want it, it's gonna bring not less attention, but it's gonna bring more attention on Dame so that Giannis can get more one-on-one opportunities down low. Maybe it's keeping that mid-range mid-range, close range. For more of his game instead of having to always step outside when teams are like, hey, you can't shoot it. You're gonna beat us with a 3-pointer. You're not getting low. Dame brings that now where they have the outside presence and he's clutch. Dame time, baby. He's bringing that to Milwaukee. It's sad to see him go.
Yeah, from the Northwest.
It's sad to see him go from the Northwest because I love going to watch him in Portland. You got to see him. I've seen him multiple times there in Portland. I've done the 3-hour drive where we live here in Yakima to go watch him. But I've been telling you, dude, Portland sucks, dude.
You hate Portland, man.
I always go on record, man. Portland sucks, dude. Like, if I'm a pro,
God.
we laugh about it. If I'm a pro athlete, man, I don't want to be in Portland, Oregon. But here's where it was. He's from a small market. He grew up in a small market with the Blazers when he entered the league. He's going to another medium small market in Milwaukee, but he's going with the star player, which he could never get in Portland. He could never get players to come to Portland. He's like, players should want to come play with me. Not in Portland, Oregon, dude. Sorry, no player's gonna.
It's just not gonna happen. I know.
The only player that went there, that's a star.
And that's just the reality of the NBA too. It's like free agents don't go to Utah, or big free agents don't go to Utah or Portland or Oklahoma City. They just don't do it. They just don't.
I know Portland sucks, dude. If I was a pro athlete, that's the last place I'm going. I am so glad we don't have to talk about the Portland Trailblazers anymore.
Yeah, they are starting over.
I'm so glad. Unless what's his face does really good, Scoot Henderson. So I bet Scoot's like, dude, you can't leave. What are you leaving me for, dude? You can't leave.
Gives him more shots.
You can't leave me in Portland.
Well, and I will say this. I mean, Portland, I don't think they got a bad end of the trade. I mean, they got an 18-10 guy in DeAndre Ayton who probably wants to be there. He wanted out of Phoenix, not in Portland, but I'm saying he wants to be on a team other than Phoenix, right? They have Scoot Henderson. They have Shaedon Sharp. They have Anthony Simons. They have some good pieces. Now, their bench needs some work, but their starting five is going to be pretty decent. But the picks are pretty good, too. The first-round pick they got. And what they're going to get for Jrue Holiday. They're probably going to get some first-round picks for Jrue Holiday, too. So maybe a player as well. So I like what Portland did as well, but they are starting over. And, hey, those tickets are going to be cheaper, right?
I'm not going to watch any of these players. I went for Damian Lillard.
Well, you want to maybe the Lakers play him, though.
I'm not going to Portland to watch the Lakers blow out the Blazers, dude. I'll watch it on TV, man, for free. I'm not driving 3 hours to go walk through Portland. Fuck that, man.
I hope I know Portland people are listening, and the chat's gonna be crazy.
I mean, I used to love Portland. I said I'm gonna live in Portland when I was in high school. I graduated in 2011. I said I'm gonna live here. You know, I have family down there. So I was just down there visiting family a couple weeks ago. But we were outside of Portland in a suburb. The city of Portland is a dumpster, dude. I would never, ever step foot in downtown Portland again. My wife loves it because of the show Grimm. And I said, well, that's Grimm. That's Hollywood showing you a fake Portland. That's not real Portland. God. That's not real Portland. It's just but I don't joke about it. Portland has the potential to be a beautiful city again because it's a city of roses, dude. It's a city of roses. Like I said, I wanted to live there one day, and now I'm like, I won't touch it with a 300-foot pole, man. I'm not even. I'm not even.
This is the Portland Diss Fest right now.
No, it's just, and Dame tried. He was
loyal
to the end, and I know people are like, oh, when things got hard, it's like, no,
he stuck it out. No,
he went as far as he could. He went to a Western Conference Finals with that team and got swept by Golden State
Warriors.
They lost to, I think, Toronto that year, but they lost to the team that went to the championship. So it's just like he went as far as that team could go. It's just. It didn't matter when LA got back when LeBron went there. It's okay. They won a title. He had to go through them in the bubble. You know, they had to face. It's just the West is so strong. And he realized, like, after 11 seasons in Portland, I cannot win here. No one's gonna come here. And it's getting to a point where he's like, I don't care. It's not even about. I can't say it's not about the money. He signed that extension. People are like, well, why did you sign the extension? Well, he signed the extension thinking Portland was gonna do right in their due diligence by signing players or making them. You know, not contenders, but to where they can compete with contenders. We're like, okay, maybe they can be that dark horse that makes a run for a title or something. It's just, we have the star player. Maybe we'll attract other players to come here. No, that just wasn't the case. No player wanted to go to Portland. I mean, Scottie Pippen went there just to prove that he could win without Jordan later on in his career, right? So it's just, and they almost did. They almost, people say they should have beat the Lakers. Well, you didn't, because suck. You're in Portland. But all jokes aside, But no, yeah, he gave 11 seasons, dude. It's not like he's like, oh, after my contract, I'm gone. He said, I'm going to be loyal here.
He was.
I have my family's. I'm here. You know, I want to be here. Players should want to come to play with me, and they didn't. And he realized it last season, and I don't blame Portland for not trading the third pick because you just would have been the same boat you were in a couple years.
Oh
ago.
yeah,
and before that, it would just been a revolving door of okay, we're getting bounced in the first or second round. We're getting bounced in the first or second round. We have the star player who can hit these shots and do all this and that, but we just can't get past the good teams. We can't get past the Lakers. We can't get past the Golden State Warriors. We can't get past these solid teams in the West. We just can't get past them, and that's just ultimately what it was. And he realized it, and he's in a better spot now. He really is. And him and Giannis, that they're don't be surprised if he's an MVP caliber player this year. I mean, he's always been up there, but look for it now because he's going to have more opportunities. Given people got to respect him and Giannis on the same roster.
So the other big question is, are the Bucks in Vegas? They are now, but that's Vegas. They always kind of overreact. Are the Bucks, in your opinion, the favorite now to win the NBA championship?
No.
Really? Okay.
I say no in this sense because Boston's still intact. I think they're going to get that group back together. And I hate saying that as a Lakers fan, but Boston, I think they're going to figure it out. They'll get something figured out this year. They had an interim coach, and they had players just kind of lose sight once they got to the finals. But they got that pretty much that core together. They have it all together still. And I think the Sixers are going to make a good run to at least come out of the East. And I mean, Miami's right there. So I mean, it's just the East is still strong enough. And who knows? Maybe the Knicks make a trade and they're legitimate contenders because they had a good season last year too. So, excuse me. They're favorites in Vegas. I understand that, but I think they're still. It plays health. Dame's got to stay healthy. Giannis
health
has
is going to be big.
Healthy.
Yeah.
Marjan went down a little bit there. He was a rookie, but you're looking for him to take up a bigger role here in his second year in the league. Portis was hurt. I mean, they were injury riddled and stricken last season, and Dame he has a history of injuries too that do linger and prolong longer than a couple games. So
yeah,
health is going to, and that's in all sports. Health is going to be their arch nemesis this season. If Dame and Giannis and Portis and Marjan and all these guys can stay healthy, then yeah, they can be legitimate contenders and be favorites. But if they're not healthy, then that's it. Look what happened. Giannis went down right before the playoffs and they got bounced in the first round. So it's just health is going to be the main factor for the Milwaukee Bucks. If that's the case, then yeah, I do see them as that. But I do think they still have to get past Boston in the East. I think it's still Boston's conference to lose.
I'm going to go...
Or Boston or Miami. I mean, Boston or Miami. Take your pick. But I think it's one of those two. So
I think they're the favorite in the East if they stay healthy. But I think it's going to be a two-team race in terms of the Eastern Conference Championship between them and Boston, especially if Boston gets Drew Holiday. If Boston gets Drew Holiday to replace a guy like Marcus Smart, that's going to be huge. So I'm going to go with the Bucks right now as being the favorite in the East. But in terms of the NBA, I mean, you still have teams like the Suns. You still have the champs and the Nuggets. I don't think it's like I don't think you could just write, like on paper, they're the favorites, right? But I don't think like in reality, when it comes to structural, like health and also like the Suns have a big three. The Nuggets are still intact, like minus Bruce Brown, but they got Justin Holiday. Let's see how they do. Christian Brown's a year older. He's better. Michael Porter Jr. is going to be better. Murray, Jokic, obviously. But on paper, they are. But health is going to be a big factor. The Bucks, I'm talking about, the favorite. But health is going to be a big factor. And where Drew Holiday goes is going to be a big factor, too. Because if he goes to a team like the Celtics, man, that's going to be such a big addition for them.
That might be their missing link.
Right, exactly.
I'm also a
defender, facilitator. Yeah.
That can be a floor general for Tatum and Brown moving forward. Like if they get Holiday, I think they bounce to the favorites over these two. And I said I think Dame's that missing piece in Milwaukee. I said that last year in the previous year, and I said he's going to LA. He's going to LA. He's going to be a Laker. I'm just a delusional Lakers fan who thinks we're getting everyone. That's just the reality.
And then they gave Anthony Davis an extension. Like, oh my god!
I was saying trade him, get rid of him. But no, it's just health is going to be their main thing. Health is going to be the main thing for the Bucks moving forward. If they can stay healthy, I don't see why they can't be favorites out of the East. I still think they get Denver's. I think Denver should be the favorite. I mean, look what.
And hey, you know what?
I told you, as long as Murray is healthy, look out for the Denver Nuggets because the couple last seasons he's been hurt or banged up enough where he couldn't be like as impactful as he can. And when he was healthy, man, you couldn't stop him. Look what he did, and then opened the floor for Jokic, and he was shooting 30-foot fadeaways over Davis and still win. They were the team of destiny last year.
Yes, they were. Yeah,
but I still think the Bucks have a lot more to do to dethrone them as the champs, and I think to even come to dethrone the Celtics and or the Heat, who have been the main focal points of the Eastern Conference moving forward. Can they? Yes, but they got to stay healthy.
Stay healthy. Health is the biggest factor. Yeah, for sure. And look, I'm a Nuggets fan, and I'm perfectly cool with the Nuggets being under the radar again. You know, Suns, Lakers, Bucks, Celtics, whatever, man. Like, I don't want the Nuggets are gonna have a target on their back because of the champs, but I don't want them to be the focal point of attention. I'm totally cool with all these big threes and big twos forming, so they can get all the attention, because it can be distracting, but we'll see what happens with that. But either way, the NBA, it just makes it that much more exciting. I'm super excited for the season. It starts in 3 weeks, on the 21st to the 24th. I don't forget which one, but you got the in-season tournament. I mean, it's going to be a fun season. It's really going to be a fun
that's right,
season.
the in-season tournament, huh?
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be a fun season, isn't it? I'm really excited for it. So, and by the way, do you think Marjan's number 0, Yakima native Marjan Beauchamp on the Bucks? He's got to give his number to him, right? I mean, what do you think?
No, I think Dame needs to turn over a new leaf. I think he needs a new number, new home, new number.
Okay. Yeah, he's been 0 his whole career, so maybe he'll pull LeBron changed his number after a while, so we'll see what happens, man. But yeah, man, that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be another interesting thing to watch out for Yakima natives. Will Marjan give up that number? Maybe they'll have some sort of deal or something. That's usually what they do. Like, they'll give him like a watch or some money or something like that. But I'm excited, man. So all right, guys. So if you're just new to the show, you're watching on Twitch, you're watching on YouTube Live, we always like to end the show giving a hot take. And Antonio, I got a hot take for you. My hot take last week was kind of true, right? I mean, we said that Dame wasn't going to Miami. It didn't happen. A week later, a couple days later, it didn't happen. He goes to the Bucks. I got a hot take. Do you want me to start this week?
Yes, go ahead. I don't even think I have a hot take. I didn't think that much about it.
Well, look, man, they got humbled. They got their asses beat last week, and they got a taste of humble pie with the Colorado Buffaloes. Oregon stomped them 42-6. Colorado looked terrible, and Dion said it. They got their asses kicked. No two ways about it. He took his medicine.
Old school ass whooping is what he said.
Yes, and I love that, right? I really think that they're going to learn from that loss. They're at home. I think the Colorado Buffaloes are going to beat USC. I really do. I feel it in my bones. The entire sports nation media is there tomorrow. All the shows are there tomorrow. It's going to be such a big game. And they're coming off a game where they have something to prove. They do. They've beaten and I know TCU is ranked. Nebraska's not good. Colorado State gave them a run for the money. They're not very good. They lost to a good team. And they proved that they play really good competition. They haven't showed up. I think they're going to show up this week. And again, they're at home. I think that's a big factor. It's going to be sold out. Every celebrity in the world's probably going to be there. I got the Colorado Buffaloes pulling a big upset. And I see USC just kind of having an F game. Not maybe Caleb Williams will play well, but I think that atmosphere, the game of the week, everybody's going to be there. I'm going to go Colorado as my upset this week and my hot take this week. They upset USC. I can't wait.
I don't have a hot take, but I'm just going to counter. They're not going to beat USC. I thought
okay, all right. Hey, it's a hot take for a reason.
I thought they were going to put up a good fight against Colorado. And I said, don't be surprised if they with Colorado beating Oregon. I do think they could make it exciting. They didn't make it exciting at all. They were very exciting pregame, but that was it.
The Oregon game you talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't see them going into California, into Pasadena.
No, they're at home. The Colorado's at home.
Oh, they're at home.
Yes.
I thought
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I still don't see them upsetting them at home.
All right.
Maybe he's gonna agree. No, I don't see that happening. I say that just because Oregon is a very good team. They're a very good team, and Autzen Stadium is a hostile environment to go into and play. Boulder's the same way, but USC, I mean, they're playing better competition now, and so they got to really earn the respect of these better competition, like the USCs and the Oregons and the UWs if they meet in a conference title game. That's the only way UW's going to play Colorado this year. This year is if they make the conference championship. So I don't see them beating USC. I don't. That's your hot take. I don't really have a hot take. I'm kind of taking a break after saying the Mariners were gonna win the NFC
win
West.
The division.
But
yeah.
If I had to think of one.
While you think of one, by the way, I mean, I picked Oregon to crush them last week, so I'm not like Mr. Colorado, you know what I mean? And I picked TCU to beat him too, so, but I just have a feeling. I don't know. And I had to come up with a hot take, so there's my hot take.
The Dolphins dropped 70 points again. No, I'm just playing.
Oh my God. That'd be incredible.
The Denver Broncos go into Chicago this weekend and they lose and they start the season 0-4.
Okay.
That's
because
my
a lot
hot
of people
take.
are picking the Broncos are favorites. That is a hot take. I mean, the Broncos are, the Bears are who the Bears are. So
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a hot take or anything crazy or out there or outlandish.
but you got the Bears winning
I
that
got
game.
the Bears beating the Broncos and the Broncos starting 0-4.
Wow, man, what a disappointing season.
What a
I
great
mean, it's
start
already
to the Sean
disappointing.
Payton, Russell Wilson era, huh?
Yeah, right. And then things got to change at some point with the Broncos after that. They got to change at some point. So, oh my goodness. Some strong hot takes this week.
Yours
But
is way
overall,
stronger than mine. Usually I have good
yeah,
ones. This week I'm just kind
yeah.
of like, we got to wait for football season to kind of roll out a little bit more and basketball starting up and baseball. I mean, hot take would be like, Mariners are going to win the World Series.
Yeah. They're going to come back and then win the division or get to the wild card or win the World Series,
No, none of that.
Yeah.
None of that. But
all right, man.
I think that's it,
yeah,
man.
that's it. We've covered it all. We from football to Taylor Swift to Colorado
I do have
winning.
one question for you, real quick. So there's people out there saying, I don't know how true it is, that the Jets need to call Nick Foles to replace
God.
Zach Wilson. Excuse me.
Ugh. You know what they need to do?
Let me re-ask that. I just yawned in the middle of it. So there's rumors out there circling that the Jets need to make a call. I mean, it's not rumors, it's just more speculation and people saying they need to call him. Is Nick Foles, if they do call him to come in, is he the savior? I mean, I think just people need to just leave Nick Foles alone. Just drop it. He had the Super Bowl and nothing after. You can't take away that Super Bowl. He's a champion.
Yes.
It was phenomenal what he did. But
he's
after
done.
that, he doesn't have a great track record. Am I
No.
wrong? I mean, you don't want the Jets calling him?
I want the Jets to call up Tennessee. I want the Jets to call up Minnesota. Get a guy like Tannehill, get a guy like Kirk Cousins to at least replace a guy until Aaron Rodgers comes back. Zach Wilson, it drives me nuts. Robert Saleh, and again, Saleh is a relay of the GM and the owner, but my God, this guy keeps going to the podium and saying Zach Wilson gives us the best chance to win. Robert, respectfully, you're crazy. He doesn't. I'd rather put Trevor Siemian out there at this point.
Oh, God. Don't ever say
Zach
that
Wilson is terrible. This guy is not a starting quarterback. Backup, fine. He's not a starting quarterback. I know a lot of the shows were throwing it out there today, and that's where I got it from, but I'm not averse to the Titans seasons down the tubes. Call up Tannehill. Obviously the Vikings season's probably over at this point, but in terms of making the playoffs, barring a miracle, like, yeah, to answer your question, like, I know Nick Foles, no, but a valuable actual starting quarterback, yeah,
Given the history, his most recent history with the Denver Broncos, do you call the Broncos if they want to unload Russell Wilson?
Not with that contract, no.
Not with the contract?
No, I just can't, no. I mean, if his contract wasn't as big as his, because you got to think, his contract hasn't even kicked in yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
That's the problem. And the same thing with Kyler Murray. Like, it's just the contract, I think, for not saying they're bad players, but I'd rather have them than Zach Wilson.
Well, now I think about it, the Russell Wilson contract, I was just thinking, like, okay, who's a team that can just unload a guy and try? They still have Aaron Rodgers, and they're trying to keep.
And that's the thing. He's
going
to come back. So, do they take a tackle if they have a top pick? Like, I don't know, man. The Jets are. I mean, you have to do that. Like, I think so too. And yeah, the Jets are a mess. They're just a fucking mess, bro. Oh God.
Hey, maybe Taylor Swift could play quarterback for you guys.
Yeah, at this point, I'd rather have her than Zach Wilson. Oh God. I don't even want to talk about the Jets. I really don't. We'll talk about them next week if they pull off an upset. But Zach Wilson ain't the guy. He ain't it. You're not that guy, pal.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that guy.
But anyway, all right, man, let's wrap up the show. It is the Talking Ball Podcast, episode 4, season 3. Thank you guys for watching us on Twitch and YouTube live as well. We're going to be on more platforms, right? Like you said, like Kick and all that.
We're shooting for Kick. We're going to shoot for Facebook. We have a good following there on Facebook. Really was going to get our content out there and kind of grow and see which one works best, and we'll kind of dumb it down, to the top, like 4 or 3, whatever. But no, we're just getting out there. We like to talk and all that. It's the first stream. We have some viewers. It's probably my wife, but all the support is needed, and she's over hanging out with the baby boy. But no, and, we figured it doesn't hurt to get out there and do live, and if there's Q&As and all that, it's up to us to put the content out there, get it created, and reel them in. So we're looking forward to it. We just figured, why not? Why not? It doesn't hurt, so it doesn't cost us anything.
That's right. So we're looking forward to the rest of the content. Of course, you guys can find us on every platform except X and Twitter. But as we always say every week, we're working on that. So, guys, thank you so much for watching, listening. We appreciate it. It is the Talk Ball podcast. He's Antonio. I'm Ryan. We'll see you next time for episode 5 of season 3. As always, peace.
Later.